Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the number one source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter, and welcome to Goldilocks Global Banking News. I am your host, folks. Goldilocks is sharing today how Iraq is announcing that they are building their reserves. Yes, their foreign currency reserves consistently, strongly, in order to stabilize the Iraqi dinar. Then we're going to go into, from Goldilocks, about Basel III. This is so that banks, such as the Central Bank of Iraq and other central banks around the world that govern the currencies that we hold, these banks can be strong enough to sustain new capital inflows, money coming into their banks, so that no matter what happens, whether it's war or anything, nothing will allow the banks to fail. If the banks fail, so does our wealth. We don't want that. Let's jump right into what Goldilocks is sharing today. The Central Bank of Iraq announced what's called an auction liquidity management for the dinar stability. That's the actual name. For the dinar stability. Folks, before the Iraqi dinar can revalue, it first must be stable. Meaning, what is a stable dinar? Meaning that no matter what happens in the world, whether it's war, natural disaster, no matter if it's issues within the banking system, electronically, that the dinar can withstand any shocks, any issues. It is like doomsday preppers that in the event of a natural disaster, they have a bunker that they can go into. So that if it's a hurricane, a tornado, no matter what, they have ample amount of supplies in that bunker for them to survive for a period of time, therefore remaining stable. The Central Bank of Iraq has essentially done the same thing and continuously does what's necessary in this regard for the Iraqi dinar. Why do you think they're doing this? Not only, folks, is it to be prepared for stronger rates and values in the dinar, it's for everyday normal life in Iraq to make sure they have the finances to support their citizens through public sector, paying salaries, operating, maintaining as a country. So what Iraq is doing, what they've announced, is through their auction reinforcement, which is the auctions of Iraqi dinar and US dollars in the banking system. These auctions are standard tools by the CBI, but many of you may not be aware that the Iranian terrorist groups, the IRGC, has used the Central Bank of Iraq's banking systems in order to smuggle US dollars into Iran. They've used this auction in order to smuggle dollars, US dollars, into Iran. Historically, for years. The central bank moved to do these auctions through electronic platforms to attempt to bypass the Iranian influence. The central bank is announcing they're tightening it up to do more. By encouraging banks to invest in these remittances, the CBI supports the confidence in the Iraqi dinar and aids in exchange rate predictability. Aids in exchange rate predictability. And this aligns with their ongoing reforms to enhance the financial stability and the strength of the Iraqi dinar so that it is compliant with international standards. This, folks, is directly from the CBI. And that is also, speaking of alignment, that's in alignment with the regulations for the Basel III requirements, which is for all banks, and yes, central banks, to be able to sustain themselves in the event of a crash, market crash, a disaster like happened in 2008. The Basel III regulations were actually created as a result of it. Iraq is just now letting the world know that they are compliant. The dinar is stable. It can sustain shocks, financial or otherwise, to their system. Just imagine if the dinar wasn't stable and there's a war, there's a financial crisis, and the dinar tanks. Where's the RV? So you think an RV will take a country from piss poor to abundance by a flip of a switch? Mm-mm. Doesn't work like that. It's a process of reforms implemented. Structures. It's like building a house. You don't build a house, you don't lay the foundation today and the roof tomorrow. That's the equivalent of beginning to implement reforms today and revalue the dinar tomorrow. So the time between the foundation is set to the roof is built, it's a process. Iraq has taken that process over the last several years from the foundation to the roof. Goldilocks has been showing the blueprint, the stages, the steps, and we present it to you. The Basel III regulations that all central banks for all the currencies that we hold, all central banks are compliant with the Basel III regulations to have a certain adequate amount of capital in their reserves, gold, and foreign currencies. Iraq is compliant. Vietnam, compliant. But Basel III themselves, the global agency, the global entity, what they're doing is they're announcing the oversight of the Basel Committee and the updating on the banking standards so that the Central Bank of Iraq and all central banks remain compliant, especially in a time of war where there's uncertainty in the banking systems, uncertainty in the trading corridors. Anything can happen to the banking systems. Even right now, where you have Iran threatening, for example, to attack and bomb banks, to attack major financial institutions, threatening to attack Google, Microsoft, Apple. Do you know the disaster that would create? Do you know the disaster it would create if they go after banks like they used the banking system in Iraq, but then deadly with banks because of the war? The Basel III requirements, folks, for every bank is actually protection mechanisms to sustain I don't know about a physical attack, but financial. Overall, the meeting by the Basel Committee reaffirmed the commitment and tightening of the global banking safeguards while adopting rules to emerging risk like digital assets that are onboarding into the banking system. The Basel III in-game reforms. It overhauls the banking system, including FOREX positions in the trading world. The U.S. regulators are still in the proposal phase of the updated regulations, but they're expected to finalize them by the end of this month, March. This will be followed by a public comment period finalized likely 2026 and beyond, and then phased implementation starting in 2027. And for those that constantly hear a date out in the near future and want to know if you have to wait until then, the answer is this is just the dates of telling you what they're going to do. It's like someone's birthday that is January of next year, asking, do you have to wait until January of next year to get a birthday present? No, I'm just telling you my birthday's January next year. Calm down. That's all this is telling you. So understand, folks. And then we have the Bank of International Settlements, which is reporting that they're focusing on the efficiency in reducing the cost of cross-border payments by 2027. That is the cost, reducing cost on foreign currency exchanges by next year. Again, that's just the birth date. That is just the date that they're announcing when they're going to reduce cost. Has nothing to do with an RV date and we having to wait for that date. So understand what this is. The Bank of International Settlements. Remember, there are 4 global agencies that oversee all currencies around the world. Thus, the revaluation of them. The Bank of International Settlements, the U.S. Treasury, the World Bank, and the IMF. The Bank of International Settlements is saying that they're working on reducing the cost of Forex transactions. Yes, that includes fees for foreign currency exchanges. It's not exclusive to just fees, but that is included. Not just exclusive to fees for foreign exchange, that's just included. This also includes reducing the fees for bank transactions, meaning bank to bank transactions as well. So you have a holistic approach. The Bank of International Settlements, Basel III, global banking implementation and regulations, and Iraq meeting the standards for all of them as well. Stay tuned. Stay in love. Be well, kind folks. Check.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.